If you're an old timer in Manchester, does the name Thelma Waddle mean anything to you? She used to be the principal up the street. Does the name Mr. Kukey mean anything to you? He used to be our gym teacher. He taught us how to swim. Now they're looking at closing this school. They're looking at closing this school and the school up the street. We're going to do a $750 million project, but we're going to also look at closing the school. I ask you, what kind of sense does that make? What kind of sense does that make? We used to have those meetings in the neighborhood before to talk about our community and what it takes to do affordable housing and stop tearing down buildings like this. In a few minutes, you're going to see our discussion about Manchester Elementary School. Director Barker, I'm a Manchester resident. I went to Conroy School. I can tell you some of the teachers there. Mr. Pluso was here also, and it was a great school. I attended your meeting at Manchester School in which you talked about the school being up for consideration to be closed or for another use. We came to you at the Pittsburgh Board of Education, and directly after we show the video of Manchester and Conroy, we're going to show the video of Manchester neighbors who asked me to do this at Conroy School. Pay close attention to what they said to Director Barker and what they said to the school board. Again, think about this. The school is literally a stone's throw away from a $750 million project. School board hasn't even invited the developer to have a discussion, but yet we're having consideration to close these schools. Again, I say it over and over again. What sense does that make? Director Barker, thank you. We're asking you to convene a meeting with the developers so that we can talk about this. We're asking you to convene a community meeting so that we can talk about what's happening in Manchester. There is no development strategy. I challenge anyone to read the Manchester plan. Pull it out and read it. It hasn't been updated since 2017. There hasn't been a discussion about our schools. There's no discussion about affordable housing right now. None of that's taking place right now. And we need to have that conversation as soon as possible. Please, we're going to flip to the Board of Education meeting. Listen to Manchester neighbors as they talk about their concerns about Manchester School and Conroy School.
My name is Dan Holland, and I am the 2025 postdoctoral fellow at the Center for African American Urban Studies and the Economy, or CAUSE, at Carnegie Mellon University. I'm also a proud graduate of Taylor Alderdice High School, class of 1987. For the past 32 years, I've been working with the residents of Manchester and documenting changes there as the community revitalized itself from a neighborhood slated for demolition to one which is an internationally recognized example of African American self-determination. Over the past year, I've been helping Manchester neighbors to understand the financial, social, and demographic implications of developments surrounding the neighborhood. The most consequential of these is the Esplanade Project, a $740 million virtual new city situated adjacent to the city's largest historic district and the largest African American historic district in western Pennsylvania. Since the 1960s, Manchester residents have been working to revitalize their neighborhood. They have been so successful that the median home price is now $220,500, making it the most expensive black neighborhood in the city. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, there are more than 3,000 people in Manchester, of which 30% are white and 63% are black. But its black population has been shrinking over the last several decades. Since 2000, Manchester's lost 40% of its population. In just the last 10 years, Manchester's black population declined by 24%, while the white population increased by 69%. In 2010, Manchester was 79% black, and in 2020, Manchester was 63% black. These demographics mask inequalities. While Manchester, the overall median income is $62,000, the white median income is over $94,000, while the African American median income is $30,000. 11% of all black families are below the poverty level, while no white families are below poverty. Serious consideration should be taken to understand the Esplanade's impact on such a sensitive neighborhood. This is especially relevant for the school board, one of the city's 3 taxing bodies, which has an annual operating budget of $716 million, nearly as much as the entire Esplanade development. I join Manchester Neighbors in calling for the school board to hold a public hearing about the Esplanade project to better understand its impact on Manchester. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. And our next speaker is Ms. Roberta Bauer.
Good evening. My name is Roberta Bauer. I am the Vice President of Manchester Neighbors, which is a new RCO. Hi, Ebony. I'm here today to personally thank Mr. Barker, Director Barker. Director Barker, I find you to be a man of your word, a man of integrity. I want to personally thank you for coming to our neighborhood meeting, very important meeting, and speaking up on the behalf of unfairness. We're here today to just tell you how great you are. And you'll probably hear us repeat some things, like Manchester does have a population of 3,110 people. And right now there are 2 people, one of them doesn't even live in Manchester, that are making the decisions for Manchester, where we all live, grew up, have family members, have businesses. And we are having such a hard time with that. We would like for you, Director Barker, to convene a meeting with us, Manchester Neighbors, and whoever else from Manchester wants to join in, with the developers on turf where everyone is welcome and comfortable. As you know, the last meeting, it was not fair. There were people who weren't permitted in the building. There was standing room only. When we can go to the school where everyone's permitted and everyone can sit down. We really need you to help us with that. Also, to each one of you directors, we're asking you, please, please save Conroy School. My son is a 2016 graduate from Conroy School. Those children are so used to that neighborhood. And if you know anything about special needs children, consistency is so important in their lives. We're also asking each one of you to save Manchester School. There's enough money in the budget. You guys have one of the largest budgets in the city, and it all comes from tax dollars. So we're asking you, please, to save Manchester School. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker this evening is Ms. Sandra Hunter. And we'll move on to the next speaker. Our next speaker is Reverend Artis Coleman.
My name is Reverend Artis Coleman, and I am a member of the Manchester Neighbors RCO, which I am ecstatic and truly blessed to be a part of that organization. I'm here just to inform you on the rental property in Manchester. Manchester has a total of 625 rental occupied housing. Out of that 625, 48% are rented by blacks, which leaves 414, and 24% are rented by whites, families, at 24%, which is 211. All I want to say is that we are community. We need each other. Schools need the community to grow, because without a school in the community, sometimes it dwindles down. So to the ears of each and every one of you, we need each other. We definitely need each other. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker, Kay Darlene Wiggins.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Darlene Wiggins, and I live in Manchester, and I'm also a board member of Manchester Neighbors. There is a plan next to Manchester, $740 million development, the Esplanade project. One of the concerns should be for the public schools in the neighborhood. We have Manchester and Conroy, especially Conroy. Conroy is located a couple blocks from the Esplanade Development Project. How will this development affect Pittsburgh, Manchester, and Pittsburgh, Conroy? We had a meeting January 14th, 2025, standing room only, where some residents expressed frustration over not being included in meetings, lack of distribution of information, and have questions where some of the questions were unanswered. I would like to thank Board Director Dwayne Barker for realizing we needed a neutral space for the community discussion with Esplanade Development, and we need a community impact study. Director Barker, when can we meet with the developer and community in that net neutral, safe space? It'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. And our next speaker, Pam Pryor.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pamela Pryor. I am a member of Manchester Neighbors. I am here just to speak on some of the disparities that have been going on in this neighborhood, and as far as the Esplanade is concerned, we would like for you to have some consideration in the construction and the building, in the building of this place. I want you to understand that there are at least 375 families that live in this neighborhood that are on food stamps that are given to them by the SNAP program. Out of the 375 families, 287 of these families are African American families. That comprises 75% of that population. The other 41% are Caucasian families, and they comprise 11% of the population. Now, if you do the math, that is quite a difference in the population numbers and a disparity. We are asking that you have consideration for these families that are down in Manchester that are receiving these types of benefits. Also, we would like for you to please consider or reconsider closing Conroy School. I am a Board of Pittsburgh employee there. These children are desperately needed to be placed on there because they receive special services that they may not receive in other schools in other parts of the city. Also, Manchester is a neighborhood school. People have been going there for a very long time. They are enamored in the community. We need for these schools to please stay in place. And Director Barker, thank you for your continued support in our recognition of our organization. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker, Taylor Woodruff.
Good evening. My name is Taylor Woodruff. I am a proud member of the Manchester Neighbors RCO. I wanted to first say thank you to Dwayne Barker for showing up to the MCC meeting and just speaking on behalf of having a common meeting space and area for us to talk as a community, to meet as a community. I wanted to ask you guys, do you know how many do you know how many ownership housing is in Manchester right now? Oh, Lord, sorry. So sorry. Yes, just give me a minute. Okay, do you know the total number of owner-occupied housing units in Manchester as of today? If you do not know the answer is 633. So 403 are African Americans, and that make up 64% of the housing ownership in Manchester. And then that leaves a remainder of 198. That leaves that remainder to the white population in Manchester. That is a total of 31%. So right now with the Esplanade project, we know that the numbers will also increase. That those numbers are the stats from the 2020 census, which is over about 4 to 5 years ago. So we know as time progresses that now the numbers are probably have increased by now. I just wanted you guys to take into consideration that with the medium income right now for the for the African American race right now is around a little over 30,000, which we know they will not be able to afford the property in Manchester as the Esplanade project continues. So I'm just asking right now if we can just meet with the developers so that we are able to get to some type of understanding and agreement so that they were able to have the information that the community needs. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker, Tracy Turner.
Hello. Director Barker, I want to thank you for coming to the Manchester Neighbors, Manchester Community Meeting, and for speaking up. What we're asking you, I apologize, I'm part of Manchester Neighbors. I'm on the board, the RCO board. My name is Tracy Turner, and what we're asking you, Director Barker, to have a community meeting. We want it off-site of MCC and somewhere where it can hold all the community. What I want to speak to you guys about, first of all, is income and poverty. 80% of the AMI it's $80,950 for a family of 4, $72,900 for a family of 3, $64,800 for a family of 2, and $56,700 for a family of 1. The average median income, the lowest to the poorest of Manchester black folks, is $30,000. Public housing for the lowest to the poorest. And what I need to know is that, has money actually been set aside? If so, and this is for the low-income housing, if so, what banks are involved and what process is it going through? We want to know, is it a private community impact study assessment going to be held, a third party outside of MCC? Director Barker, if you can please hold an outside meeting where that everybody can come, and we want an impact study. We want a third party to do the impact study, and we also want to know how is this going to benefit the families that make $30,000. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. And then our next speaker is Elizabeth Ivy. And then we'll move on to our next speaker. And our next speaker is Terrence Turk.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Terrence.
Turn your microphone on.
But I'm sorry. I thought I could be heard anyway. I've been told I have a loud mouth. But my name is Terrence Turk. I'm a proud member of the Manchester Neighbors RCO. And I'm also a 54-year resident of Manchester. And I plan on being there until my father calls me home. All right? So what I'd like to commend is Director Barker on, stepping up, even though he recognized his youth, and that he's a young politician. He still mentioned that, we need to have an off-site location to have another meeting to discuss the impact of the $740 million project on our community, and from your perspective on how it affects Conroy and Manchester schools. Some of the information I have comes from the 2020 census. and it's about housing information in Manchester. Based on that information, there were 1,762 dwelling units in Manchester. Of that, 1,496 were occupied. 266, or 15%, were vacant. 818 of those units were Black occupied units, and 266 were white occupied units. Not to make this a black and white issue, but sometimes the elephant in the room has to be put out there for all to bear witness to. But I would appreciate if this board would convene a meeting so we can discuss the impact that this is going to have on those two schools in Manchester and Conroy, as well as the residents of Manchester. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you for your testimony. And our next speaker is Ms. Evelyn Mitchell. And we will move on. Our next speaker is Rebecca Bauer.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Bauer Sweeney. I grew up in Manchester neighborhood. I am about to be 37. I went to Manchester Elementary School. My brother went to Conroy. My sister went to Manchester. A lot of my family members went there as well, so we would love for our schools to be saved in our neighborhood. And also, I just wanted to say thank you to Director Barker. You serve the people well, you have superior leadership skills, and we really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker is a Miss Ebony Evans. And we will move on to the next speaker. Our next speaker tonight is Iris Gaucher.
Thank you. I just want to say one thing. I've heard all of the statistics, but one of the things that you're forgetting is the fact that before all of this happened, after Mayor Caligiuri asked the Black people to step up and do service to Manchester so that the houses would not get condemned, we did that as a people. And we've been paying our taxes there for a long time. It's not so much about what's coming in the future. What have we done to support you, the city, in the past? And I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker is a Mr. English Burton.
Hello, everyone. My name is English Burton, and I'm a grandparent, a great-grandparent of 3 children that go to Manchester Elementary School. Myself, I went to Conroy Elementary School, Conroy Junior High School. Dwayne, I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank everybody sitting in front of me for your service, But the time has come, man, to really step up and help the people of Manchester. Manchester is a community of historical value, and I was there. I was a kid. I was 18 years old when they removed Old Beaver Avenue and dislocated a whole lot of people to put an overpass there, Now, it's like deja vu. You understand what I'm saying? It's also deja vu when it comes to closing schools, There was a guy, man, that was superintendent of Pittsburgh Public Schools. His name was Roosevelt. This guy was not an educator. He had never been inside a classroom, but he ran this system. He made the decision to close 19 schools in this town, The reason why I know that, because I've been the beneficiary of one of those schools. The old McNocker Education Center is now the Northside Partnership Project Community Resource Mall. A lot of schools that were closed have been turned into condos. And believe me, if they close Manchester, that's what you will see. You will see condos in there. because these people, they put development such as condos and stuff above our kids' education, you know? And we're gonna stand together shoulder to shoulder. We're gonna stand together and we're gonna make this happen, you know? People, the Manchester residents, they need a meeting with the developers, with the project people, the project managers, because those are the people, man, who call the shots, you know? When you're talking about people that need to be able to get the correct answers, those are the people that can give them the correct answers, you know? When you talk about programs and stuff to help the people who make $30,000 or less, because the reality of it is, we know, man, they're not gonna be able to purchase no $200,000 homes, you know? So they have to be made aware of the programs that will benefit them, that will allow them, you understand, to participate in the process, man, of purchasing these homes. Now, you know, it's a long way, man, from 30,000 to 250,000, you know? So what we have to do is take that 250,000 and that 30,000.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Excuse me, we have to go to our next speaker, Mr. Burton. Thank you. And our next speaker is Deborah Blackwell Battle.
That would be me. My name is Deborah Blackwell Battle. Good evening to all the directors. Good evening to Dr. Walters. Good evening, Mr. Barker. I respect you so much. I've watched you grow. I loved it when you had the parent network at King. It worked very well because it was a community within a community, helping our kids. Today I'm here to talk about the median income for African Americans in Manchester, which is $30,205. 80% of the AMI standard for a family of 4 is $80,000, $950. Or a family of 1, $56,700. In fact, it is below the 50% AMI standard for a family of 1, $35,450. Or $50,000 for a family of 4. At 30% of the AMI, the income limit for a family of 1 is $21,250. And it is $31,200 for a family of 4. So it is safe to say that a very small number of African Americans in Manchester could afford anything at 50% or 80% of the AMI. Were systematically erased from the equation. Now in America, they say that if you could own your home, that's a part of the American pie. But it's not a part of our pie if we're systematically wiped out of the equation. We can't go for that. We deserve more respect than that. I've lived in Manchester all of my life. My mother went to Conroy. My mother went to Old Manchester. I went to Conroy. I went to Manchester. We're not going to let the system just dismiss our history. All right, come on. Just because we're not economically fit. All right now. So if we cannot afford to buy a house, then this is like inherited inequality. We can't go for that. Because like Fannie Lou Hamer said, sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you. Our next speaker tonight is Mr. Stanley Lowe.
Good evening. 3 minutes is not a lot of time, so I'm going to get right to the point. Your budget is $716,900,000. You're only second after Allegheny County. You leverage all the other numbers in your packet to come after it. You leverage $3 billion every year. In the next 5 years, that's $15 billion. That's what you're leveraging right now. You ought to be demanding a community impact study, demanding one. The reason you ought to be demanding one, Conroy School, Manchester Elementary School. If you're looking towards the future, you ought to know what you're getting into. You ought to know what's happening down there. Director Barker, we really appreciate you and standing up for us and standing up for the neighborhood. There's been a statement put out that we can do 100 units of housing in Manchester. What folk don't understand is the market continues to move on. Every day the market moves on, and we get left out of that market. No one's talking about the 300 vacant and vandalized buildings that are already down there, white folk just buying up left and right. Nobody's talking about let's do a house tour and invite people to come snap up these properties. Nobody's talking about the gentrification that's happening right now in our neighborhood. Yes, I'm tired. I see it every day, and I do know what I'm talking about. You leverage this stuff. Think about it. $750 million right next to our neighborhood, and no one's asking for a community impact study. You did a community impact study when you wanted to figure out what schools want to stay open. Oh, it gets worse. We just announced we're going to spend $600 million downtown, and you got a school downtown. Is anyone asking for a community impact study downtown to see how that money's going to leverage or hurt your schools that we have downtown? We have to wake up to what's going on. We have to understand this. We need the community impact study. Now, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I've been a trustee of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. I was on Citizens Bank Board of Directors. I bring the credentials to the table to know exactly what I'm talking about. We're about to be hurt. You're about to be hurt if you don't ask for a community impact study. You have a right to have a community meeting in the neighborhood where they don't ban people, where they let the entire neighborhood come and have a conversation about this. And if you're really serious about this, everyone sitting in this room will be at that meeting to understand what the developer is going to do. And you ought to request the same presentation they made at city planning. It'll blow your mind. If you see the same presentation they made at city planning, and it ain't about you. Trust me, it's not about you. And it ain't about us.
Thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker, Paul Scott.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Scott. I am the administrator for the Manchester community, an adopted member of the Manchester community. And Director Barker, I've come here today to paraphrase Romans 13:7, which means to render to all men their due, and says to render to all men whom tribute is due, render to all men who custom is due, render to all men who reverence is due, and render to all men who honor is due. And we just come here to give you due honor for all that you do for our community, and render you due honor and thank you for all that you do for the community. And that's all.